Arcraiders is a world that takes us 150 years into a dystopian future, in a world where Earth's environment has collapsed and what's left has been claimed by Ark that mysteriously appeared decades later. In today's video, we're diving into a theory so radical it split the Embark fanbase in two, a theory that could completely rewrite the foundation of a possible Embark-verse, and after this, you may never see the lore the same way again. So strap in and join me as we go topside to explore the world of Arcraiders. Technology in Arcraiders looks like something we'd see out of the late 1900s. If we use this and a graffiti in a Kira spaceport that quotes the year 2054, we come to most people's conclusions, which is that the environmental collapse happened between the 1970s and 2054, but I'm inclined to disagree. My theory is based more on the world building, and while I do agree that the year 2054 has significant meaning, I don't think that the Great Collapse started in the late 1900s. I believe that this is a similar case to the franchise Fallout, where the world stopped progressing in some ways but exponentially started growing in others, and I believe a similar thing happened in Arcraiders. The reasoning is to do with how fast the environmental collapse happened. Our real world seemed nearly identical to the Arcraiders universe by the late 1900s, and an environmental collapse would be a bit unbelievable if things went the way they did in the real world. My theory is that society started focusing only on money, wealth becoming literally everything, and this would have led the world into a period of mass resource gathering, a wealth race if you will. Money starts being spent on mass transportation and mining, with the original climate collapse projections going from around 2050 down to the 2040s, 2030s until finally the collapse. At some point in the early 21st century, this ignorance of the obvious climate threat eventually caught up to humanity, and within the span of only a couple years a tipping point was reached. Extreme environmental disasters crashed down on humanity, and by the time it all died down, a planet's surface became unrecognizable. The Exodus is a period of time after the collapse, up until the last human refugee ships departed to space. During this time, the dam and Akira spaceport were built, as before the collapse there was no lake or river in this region of Italy, meaning that the dam was built and operational during the Exodus, and was operational until sometime in the early Sunrise era, and the spaceport was also built during this period, especially when we look at the graffiti, which almost confirms everything I've said before. The Italian writing Fat Spazio per tutti translates to make room for everyone, and the writing Uguaglianza per tutti means equality for all, sorry if I butcher the pronunciations, which showcases that there was a hierarchy, and I think my theory of the crave for wealth being the reason makes sense, especially when we dive into something else very soon, but more so to just speedrun the process of space travel refuge in such a short period of time. There had to have been massive quantities of money put together. The Exodus age would have taken place after the construction of these locations, which would have on its own taken 10 to 15 years, so the actual leaving Earth period would have only been up to a short couple year long window during the 2050s, when the 2054 graffiti was drawn. Only the oldest people alive in the present day of 2180 remember the Sunrise period. It was a period of time before the Ark and after the Exodus, where humanity started building itself up again. You still see random camps around from this period that people started making to live on the New World's terrain. And this period actually lasted much longer than most people think, from about 2060 to around 2150, when the first Ark wave came. We get 2150 from how old Celeste was during the first Ark raid. She looks about 40 or less in the game, and we can assume she was a kid since she remembers the first wave and even lost her family during it. We know the Ark can't be alien because the first wave failed, something that would not happen if an advanced alien race sent them down across the universe. This is where my proper theory comes in, the colony beyond the stars, home to the greatest game show of all time, where the rich keep the majority of people in VR watching the finals, to distract the populace from the heinous act they are preparing to commit to the angered population they left behind on Earth. The creators of the Ark, funded by the sponsors of the finals and the massive Multico. This is why when CNS hacks the finals, it tells the populace to seek the truth beyond the walls, to try spread awareness of the fact that they are being put in a VR world to ignore what's happening around them. This is shown through the free frog CNS talks about, which suggests things during the finals is happening around behind the scenes that we don't know about. So my theory bases itself around the fact that thefinals is a VR world game show made to distract the populace from the fact that the higher ups plan on massacring the humans left on Earth. The connection between these two games is further emphasized by the company Jiangsu Romanga being found around Spacewall. And while the evidence is still minimal, multiple showcases of Jiangsu Romanga suggest that it is not an Easter egg. The first wave is the first set of Ark brought down to Earth to wipe out the remaining humans who didn't leave during the Exodus. The people who left during the Exodus likely thought anybody left would be much easier to wipe out, but they were wrong. As we know, the first wave of Ark was successfully dealt with and fully repelled. The first wave was a reign of Arks far less equipped than the ones that dominated the surface today, Barons being one of the major threats, with husks that were taken down by the previous generations still found around the entire Italian peninsula, acting almost like embedded trophies of what humanity once achieved. However, this did not last. The second wave made it clear the Arks were man-made, as they came back much more lethal and durable than the Arks in the first wave, and so throughout the second invasion it became clear the only safe haven was underground, mostly through metro lines and underground facilities, and due to this, by 2180, humanity was fully pushed underground with the exception of Toledo, where Speranza is located. I believe the only reason this is even possible is because of my theory, as I don't think there would be such space underground unless there was a mass mining or transport period which would have been caused by a wealth race, which I theorized. So this brings us to 2180, the present day, where humanity is pushed underground, surviving off underground train and tunnel networks. What will happen from now on, we don't know. Will the raiders succumb to the Ark, or will there be a war between two worlds? There's 10 years of content up ahead, so it's only a matter of time until we find out the truth. Is the world of thefinals actually connected to the world of arcraiders, or is there a completely different threat at play? And so I'll hand it over to you guys. What do you think is the case? Are they connected, or are they not? If you enjoy the type of content you see here or anywhere else on my channel, it would be greatly appreciated if you hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. It helps me out a lot. I also have a Patreon, so if you want to further support me and get early access to videos with a bunch of behind the scenes content, you can find a link to that in the description down below. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.